If you're looking to start a leadership coaching business, then this video is going to help you do that in a way that's uniquely yours and is also designed for the long haul to be sustainable, scalable, and successful. Enjoy. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to launch a leadership coaching business. And specifically, I'm going to get into how to find your ideal audience, who are the people that you're going to serve, and how to create a signature system that uniquely sets you apart from other leadership coaches. I'm also going to get into how to brand yourself as a thought leader, how to develop your packages and programs and pricing, how to master the art of enrollment, aka sales, and the mindset that you're going to need to pull this all together. Now, I'm sure there are a whole lot of ways to start a leadership coaching business, and what I've put together are some of the things that I would do if I were starting from scratch all over again. Some of the challenges I see with people starting new coaching practices, in particular leadership ones, is getting their first few clients. So I'm going to address that specifically. And also another problem is having uniquely yours content. And what I mean by uniquely yours content, it's so easy to pull leadership content from all over the place. I mean, leadership is a big topic with a lot of books. But what I think is really important and powerful is for you to define leadership in your very own way, with your unique methodology. Because if you're talking about leadership, you have to be a leader. And to that end, I have a whole playlist on how to establish yourself as a thought leader. So I'm not going to go deep into that part here, but that would be a great playlist to go into and follow down the rabbit hole if you want to learn more about establishing yourself and your brand as a thought leader. So to start a leadership coaching business, one thing you might want to consider is beginning where you already are. In other words, starting with the people and industry contacts you already know. Now, here's the thing. I know that when you decide to start a new business, and especially a coaching business, it can be tempting to walk away from everything you've done before, especially if the reason you're walking away is because you didn't enjoy it very much. But when you start a leadership coaching business, it can be really helpful to have a leg in the door. And so if you start with your current industry, that might be a great way to get your foot in the door somewhere in a place where you have a lot of expertise and a lot of credibility, and then parlay that later into something new once you've built up some case studies, a methodology, a signature system, and some confidence. The second thing to do is to identify an ideal audience, what others might call a target audience, although I find the word target to be a little bit violent. So I like to say your ideal audience. Now, this is something that a lot of coaches resist, and I understand because I resisted it myself. The idea of narrowing the focus can make it feel like we're closing a whole bunch of doors. And in the beginning, this can be really scary. But what I've seen, what I've experienced time and time and time again, is that when you narrow your focus, it's usually easier to find your ideal clients. When you have a really broad focus, it's hard for people to refer you business. And it's hard for people to self-select into your business. Let me share with you an example. Think about if you know a life coach. Got it? Great. Now think about if you know a life coach who specializes in relationships. Probably easier to think of one. Let's go a layer deeper. Do you know any coaches who specialize in single women and dating? Bing, bing, bing. Even if you don't know a coach, I bet you thought of a client for that coach. I bet you have a girlfriend somewhere that you know needs a singles dating coach. That's what happens when you narrow your focus. It becomes a lot easier for people to refer you business and for people to know exactly who needs to be referred to you. Another thing that you'll need is your signature system. Now, I am a big believer that this can form the cornerstone of your entire business. Your signature system is the methodology that you've developed over the course of your career doing what you do that helps people get from point A to point B. It's your leadership system. Now, what you want to have is the steps of your leadership system. Now, that could be steps 1 through 7, or it could be some sort of acronym with each letter signifying a different part of your program. But whatever it is, make it uniquely yours. Make sure it's something that you can own. Make sure you're not infringing on anybody else's intellectual property. And please, whatever you do, don't copy somebody else's leadership system and then slap your name on it. Not only is it out of integrity, it's completely incongruent with the idea of leadership. A leader is someone who creates something, is a person who goes first, is someone who is leading. And if you're copying someone else's stuff, then obviously you're not leading. The fourth thing to think about as you're creating your leadership coaching business is your brand. How are you going to position yourself out in the world? Who are you going to be and who are you going to be for? What is the thought that you lead in your thought leadership brand? So these are all considerations of branding. And like I said earlier, I have a whole bunch of videos that go deeply into this topic. If you're going to be a leadership coach, you need to be a leader. So make sure that you create some sort of brand that aligns with your own personal experience of leadership and that reflects your own unique values for leadership. And some of the best ways that you can do this, that you can develop your brand and get it out there, are writing a book, developing a signature speech, and creating some sort of publishing or broadcasting content that you start to put out into the world on a regular basis. Another thing that you're gonna need to have, obviously, if you're gonna be doing leadership coaching, is to have some leadership coaching packages. You'll want to define and decide your services in advance. Now, that doesn't mean that they might not evolve and change, but I've found, especially when it comes to leadership coaching, that you need to lead your clients. Your clients are looking to you to tell them what they need and where they should go. So instead of sitting back and waiting for your clients to tell you what they want to create, my advice to you would be to get really clear about how you recommend your clients get their outcomes. What that looks like is saying to the client, Mr. or Miss Client, the way I work is everybody starts with my unique leadership signature system, X. And so that might sound a little different for you, and your signature program might be different than what I just mentioned. But the point is that you're leading the client instead of the client leading you. Now, if you don't have any clients just yet, or you're just starting out, then one thing you might want to consider is doing a beta program. A beta is simply getting some clients in the door, either at a low cost or even no cost, in order to help you build up your book of case studies, in order to give you some credibility, some testimonials, and some results that you can point to in the future. So if you have one or two close relationships with potential clients, I would recommend going to them first and seeing if you might create a program for them at low or no cost so that you can start to practice and hone your craft. The sixth thing that you must do if you're going to grow a leadership coaching business is to master the art of enrollment. That means mastering the art of sales. And this is an area that many coaches avoid and resist. Most importantly of all, do not give away your magic for free. And if you can, avoid as much as possible spending your life writing proposals. I'm a big believer that instead of trying to sell in writing through proposals or emails or brochures, that the easiest and best way to sell and enroll people in your programs is to get on the phone. The way that this works for me is that when I meet any prospect, whether it's through email, Facebook, social media, LinkedIn, wherever they come from, what I like to say is the way I work is we hop on a call first, and from there I can get a better sense of if and how I can serve you, and then we can decide what the next steps are. I find that this is a really great way of taking some of the pressure off and making sure that I can get on the phone with somebody. Hardly ever has anybody turned me down to have one of these meaningful conversations. And I believe it's the reason that my sales have improved over the years since I started implementing that conversation. So the last thing you absolutely must do if you want to have a leadership coaching business is to cultivate and hone your mindset. And actually, maybe this should be number one instead of the last thing, because it's probably the most important. Your mindset is what allows you to stand in leadership. It's what allows you to confidently tell a client, this is what you need. This is what I believe. This is what I think you should do. One of the biggest challenges with coaching in general, and especially with leadership coaching, is this belief that somehow the client is better or the client is above. And it's really important if you're going to be leading clients and leading leaders and teaching them leadership, that you remember that you're the expert, you're the one with the expertise, and you're the one with the answers that your client needs. When you approach a situation, especially an enrollment conversation or a leadership program or seminar, from a place of really standing in your value and claiming your own leadership, then you're much more likely to have an impact on your clients. Furthermore, in order to really be effective, you've got to know how to enroll clients. And one of the things that involves is making sure that you can lead them through a conversation that shows them the vision that they have and that they want, and the pain of inaction or the pain of not having it. So often where coaches fall flat and where they don't break through is because they're willing to step back when a client says no, instead of stepping in and helping that client see the value of the programs that they can provide. If you're ready to start your leadership coaching practice, then I highly recommend checking out my free resource, the Monetize Your Magic Playbook. My intention is that this will save you from monetizing your time and your effort and ending up in a business that you don't really love at all. So check that out at monetizeyourmagicplaybook.com or click on the link below. Enjoy.